Never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just need your Black Lives Matter. They talking just so we don't hit nothing. Only just wanting that watching all this go. Jefferson through the tell you, but a nephew can just take over. How the police act like that? Sir, they say we should stop the violence. Hell no, point it out. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, hunt to stop. Get about Freddie Gray, Clark, Captain, they killed Eric Cut in the middle of the streets. NYC, now we get for free. They getting me, they getting you. Man, they get cheap. We done lost blood to the ocean, and we got them 6 feet. Remember, still can still, man, it's getting. Remember that he's on the ground. R.I.P. Yeah, they still whipping. Shit with slavery. I'm running like Malcolm because he wanted peace. Visions that I'm having, it ain't come for cheap. And every day I'm waking up, I'm trying to be a greater me. And I can see these other people having changes. And they, so we point the guns in all directions of change. But we watch that man bang like straight on them streets. And we going against each other, man, that shit be looking weak. Chicago killing California, Philadelphia, Kansas, Baltimore, the shit is looking losses, unforgivable chances, unforgivable answers. Forever know we gon' feel it, forever know we be damaged and let you refuse to stand. I swear we won't manage much, and we don't hit nothing about saying we just only want the real, only just wanting to ask why all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but a nephew can just tempo. How the police say like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the how they asking us to stop? George Floyd, hunt to stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray, they racing to the clock. Michael Brown would have been here, went straight to that store, and then they picking on our youth. They know that we becoming more. Trey Martin walking down the street, Zimmerman, you a whore. Our family, hope you get answers and then some more. Sorry, I ain't me Capri, I ain't trying to be no judge. Something he was only 16 and it really gave him life. I want him home, I want him free, and I want that shit tonight. This shit crazy, they get off, and they give my people life. Now I'm strapped in with a vision, yeah, it's fuck all politicians. They don't in all these murders. Fuck Donald Trump, he the villain. On the Taylor, I just promise I never forget your struggle. They done came into your apartment after they shot you for nothing. Minnesota, I understand. I will not tell you not to rob too many of my people that up paid. I feel it deep inside. We go much more than 40 acres, and that's some music shit to stop this shit with them and tell, but this is what they do. Why they talking just so much? And we don't hit nothing about Sandra. We just only want the real. Only just one ass. Watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but a nephew can just tickle. How the police act like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, hunt to stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray, they racing to the clock. And now Rashard Brooks.
What it do? This is your boy Alfie D, and the place to be is Street Talk Podcast. Welcome to Real Estate Wednesdays. This is your boy Alfie D online today. I got my home girl online today to come here to drop some jewels for y'all. My girl Dawn Young. My girl Dawn Lemon. Coming straight from DL Homes, DL Cell Homes. What's going on? How you doing today? I must be thinking about my 8th grade girlfriend or something. I don't know what was going on. How you been?
My mic is muted.
No, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Oh, okay. It says my mic is muted. I'm good. How is everybody? How are you? How is everybody else?
I'm doing good. Everybody out there, how y'all doing out today? So what we came to do here today, we came here to bring y'all something different today. Like I said, the Street Talk Podcast, we come here to bring everything to you. You know, we want to bring the knowledge to you, whatever it is that we got that, we think is educational. And I think right about now, what's real educational right now is the home buying market right now. There's a lot of people out here right now. Man, forget, let's be real. We got the stimulus money coming around. We got tax time coming up right now. People up here have been cleaning their credit up. Christmas time is gone now. You've been saving a little bit. So right about now, you're thinking about, man, I'm tired of paying rent. I need to go and find a house. I'm going to get tired of making somebody else rich. So, I want to find a house. So, Dawn, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get it started and what made you with being an agent.
All right, so I'm Dawn Lemon. I am an agent with Realty One Group Universal. What brought me, this is like my dream job. So fear had always been a factor. I have children. I was a single parent. So I didn't want to take the risk of going from a 9 to 5 with a guaranteed paycheck to a commission-based career, not knowing what the outcome would be. So it took me a while to make the transition. So I finally, once I raised my kids, they were grown, they both graduated high school, I decided to take a step out on faith. So I'm here. My passion, pretty much my passion is to build the community through wealth. And also just socioeconomics, understanding all of the different working pieces in terms of what it takes to have a community that flourishes. In my opinion, and it's not anything against anybody and with their preference or where they prefer to live, but in the city, we're losing out on so much because everybody, it's pretty much once they get to a certain point or a certain income level and they feel accomplished, they up and they place their families in the outskirts, the suburbs and things like that. And so they're taking the money that the city would typically get for the schools. They're taking the money that the city would typically get to keep the streets clean, etc. And they're moving out into the suburbs and it's leaving the city suffering. But on the flip side, if you keep up with just the urban development plan for the city, you understand that everything that's going on in terms of gentrification, it happens every 70 years. So that time is coming around again. And if for anybody out there who's familiar with how it has definitely brought DC up, like from where it was to where it is now, it's actually absolutely going to happen here. So my motto is there's no better time than now, because eventually to buy in a city, like you're going to be spending like $500,000 easy just on a row house to buy in a city if you don't get it now. And my goal, like today, I wanted to kind of touch on the myths around buying a house, because I feel that so many people don't, when I have my buyer consultations, the things that people like, their thought process around buying a house, and it's just like, where did you get this information from? But as I mentioned, education is key. So until you have someone who can actually sit down and go through these things with you and talk through these things with you, you're pretty much misinformed, you're miseducated. So I want to bring that to you all today.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break it down basically, like they say in layman's terms. We're going to step by step and help you out because, me, myself, I purchased a home, some years ago, right? And it was a difficult, situation or whatever. And I wish I didn't have no help. I didn't have none of that. So, you get a lot of bumps and bruises. You find out a lot of things. Sometimes, you get some shady people. You get a lot of people that doing shady work. Everybody. So it's a lot of things you need to learn. And so blessed that, back in like 2000, I was on the other side of it. You have three things, what do you say? It's like three phases in real estate. You have investors, you have agents, and then you also have your buyers. So it's like I was on the rehab side. So I seen, the ups and downs, the ins and outs, cuts, that everybody, the shortcuts, the things, people do on that sense of to try to get home. So a difficult task, if I must say, you got to do your homework. You got to do your homework. You got to do your homework. I must say, you have to do your homework. You must say that.
Absolutely. I encourage anybody, even if you don't. I mean, some people, there's even a misperception about having an agent, and it's just like, oh, they just in it for the money, or and I can't say that some of them are not, but not all of them. It's still always good to have that person to hold your hand through the entire transaction, just to make sure that you have all of the information that you need to make this decision. This is going to be the biggest decision that you'll ever make in your life when you purchase your home. So you definitely want to make sure that you want to be proactive. So we can't make sure that absolutely nothing goes wrong, but we'll do our best to make sure that we protect your interests.
So basically, you're like the training wheels, you're there to help them, to keep them on the right track and make sure they basically get what they want, what they ask you, can you help them find, or things like that.
Well, yeah, as an agent, I'm a little bit of everything. I'm the therapist. I'm the financial advisor. I'm the relationship specialist. I'm like in things. I don't even have any. I'm like, how do we end up here? But it is what it is. Sometimes people need to talk through different aspects of their life to get to the decision that they actually ultimately need to make to buy their home. So That's just
Oh,
how it works out. So I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy that piece of it as well. So, and like I say, just learning and just understanding how education can just like it can make a big difference. You hear people who purchase a home, and like you said, even when you went into it, it was a lot you didn't know, and some of the mistakes that you made, in your experience in purchasing your home. So I know I purchased a home prior to becoming an agent, and I wouldn't necessarily, because it's something that I always check into and look into. I did my research, and I still ended up, going through some things. So we can't
yeah.
prevent everything, but with the right agent, it definitely helps you along.
Exactly. So, you just want to cover like on the myths and everything like that. So, so what is like some of the myths? Because one of the myths like that I didn't heard is, oh, you got to have real good credit to purchase a home. Oh, 800, 750, things like that. What is that? Is that a myth, or is that is it some part true? I mean, what is it?
So that absolutely, to have a credit score that high is absolutely a myth. The minimum credit score that most lenders will lend on is a 620. Although the government set the mandate at 600, 620 is like your safe place. That's your cushion. So the most important part of it is not necessarily how high or how low your credit score is, but your credit history also entails your payment history, making on-time payments, how much your debt to income ratio. So you can have 10 credit cards, never been late, but all of them are like 90% maxed out. So your utilization ratio, keeping that in a safe zone, and they typically like to see that below 30%. Another one I wanted to touch on that I actually had written down in my notes is the student loan. Like a lot of people in the city think that they have student loan debt, and some people feel like or are under the impression that they can't buy a home until they pay off their student loans, and that's absolutely not true. There actually is a formula that lenders use to determine, and it basically goes into your debt to income ratio. So they do
Okay.
consider it. They don't consider it outstanding or that you have to pay it down, but they factor it into your monthly debt. And that determines how much of a house you can afford. But it doesn't mean that you can't actually move forward with purchasing a house. So that is
Okay.
definitely a myth that you cannot buy a home until you pay off your student loan debt. It's absolutely a personal preference, but there is that one part of it. Like I said, the lender doesn't look at the student loan debt as a whole. They factor into your monthly debt to income ratio. But in addition to that, Maryland Mortgage Program also has a program where they actually assist you with paying down some of your student loan debt through your home loan. So your lender will be able to tell you based off of what your outstanding balance is if you qualify for that particular program. But absolutely, it's a myth that you cannot buy a home until you actually pay your student loan debt off.
Okay, and one thing like we touched on, like that you just said, and I want to touch on because like for somebody that might don't know, like, oh yeah, I pay my bills and things like that. So is there certain bills that you have to pay to get your debt, the ratio down? Like, oh, I pay my cell phone bill every month, or I pay my cable bill. Like, so do those things like that affect your credit, or does it help you, or it don't do anything?
Yeah, your cell phone bill will never be, unless you didn't pay your bill and it went on your credit as a delinquent account, that will never be a factor. They will pretty much look at, of course, absolutely your credit cards.
Okay.
So, I mean, they will look at if you purchase a car, that goes into your monthly debt to income ratio. So your car payment, just say for instance, you make $3,000 a month. Your
Yeah.
car payment is $600 a month. So now that leaves you with $2,400, and then whatever else, like whatever your credit card, your total credit card that is, say that's another $300. That takes it down to $2,100. So you have to pay attention to how much outstanding debt, monthly debt you have, because that determines how much of a house you can afford. Some people think that, oh well, I make $80,000 a year, so I should be able to go out here and get me a house that costs $200,000. And although they may make $80,000 a year, monthly, just say that their monthly income on the 80,000 is $5,000, but you have
Okay.
$4,500 worth of debt that you're paying. That only leaves you being able to afford a $500 a month mortgage. So no, you cannot afford a $200,000 house. So you have to definitely take into consideration your debt to income ratio. That's the most important piece in determining your affordability of a home.
Yep. And I know that was one of the big parts back in, I guess, if you want to call it the recession of '80, like that. A lot of people was getting these loans and they thought they could be able to afford, they might was making $7, $8 an hour. I mean, I didn't see it, people I was working for, they were just pushing. We did we sold 36 homes in 18 months, pushing them out, putting everybody inside these houses. So then you saw about years, a couple of years, they couldn't afford these once they start, when someone else will pick up the loan. And then the loan, it changes hands, and then they start taxing you on people couldn't afford these loans because, so you saw a lot of people start losing homes and things like that. And I guess that's another thing, like people live above that means, trying to Joneses, things like that. So, I mean, so what is like some of this, because I know, like you say, if I'm making $80,000 a year, how I'm going to be able to $200,000 home? I got other businesses or things like that on the side. So like, that, that's a myth and things like that, a lot of, you ain't gonna be able to afford that. So like other myths that a lot, like broke my home, I was nervous, like, oh man, I'm not gonna do this and I'm not gonna do that because I hear this, I hear that. So like some other things that you didn't hear that, people come to your office and say, look, I'm gonna get a home, but this, but that, walk us through it, help us out, give us some stories.
All right. So the next biggest one is that I don't want to buy. So people, this is real life. Like I hear this once a week. Well, I want to buy a house, but I mean, the mortgage is 30 years and really the house is only at 150, and by over 30 years, by the time I finish paying the interest, I'm going to pay $500,000 for the house and it's only $150,000. So while this, on paper, when you look at it, when your lender breaks it down, this is very much true. However, you have to understand and change your thought process. Like I said, education is key. When I moved in my house, my goal is not to pay my mortgage for 30 years. In my personal opinion, and to each his own, it shouldn't be anybody's goal to pay their mortgage in 30 years. My goal is to pay my house off in 5 years. So, like, why would you want to, like, whatever you can do to kind of make extra payments when you can, even if it's tacking on an extra $100 each month on your mortgage every year for the next 5 or 10 years, then you would save 20 years worth of interest. So the name of the game is and that's with anything. With interest, like I was taught, I was raised that you cannot write, well, for your house you can, but for the most part, you can't write interest off on your taxes, so you shouldn't be paying it. If you can't afford to pay your credit card bill in full at the end of the month, then you can't afford whatever you bought. You need not to pay interest. But like I said, to each his own. You do what you do, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But ultimately that is the case. But it's like you go into it, and I always ask people, what is your short-term goal and what is your long-term goal for your home? Because if you look at the short term, some people say, oh, okay, well, I want to purchase, and then in 3 years I want to refinance and pull money out and take it and start whatever, buy a car, start a new business, whatever the case may be. That might be the short term. Okay, long term, what is the plan for your house? Well, it depends, like different factors. Their kids might already be 15. So, in a few years, the kids are going to be going to college. So I'll probably sell the house, move into a smaller house, or, different, like right now. Just take into consideration everybody who's up and selling their homes, because the pandemic has put us in a situation where we do everything from home now. The kids are in one room everybody's in the same room, because we never bought the house at this point in time to work, school, and everything. We bought the house to live in and do all of that on the outside. So now everything has switched up. So the kids are at the dining room table. I'm in the living room. Everybody's on top of everybody. So no, we need a bigger house now. So let's sell this house and buy a bigger house. So that's what some people are doing. But they haven't been in that house for 30 years, and where the market is right now, they can afford to sell their homes. They're going to make 20, 30, 50,000 just selling the one house, and that's the down payment for the next house. So now they didn't live in the house for 30 years, so they didn't pay $400,000 for a $150,000 house, and the house is gone, and they made money, and they on to the next thing. So you have to really sit down and understand and take into consideration, really ponder on what your goal is. I mean, technically,
Exactly.
we're not in a day and time. I mean, when we were growing up, grandparents and things like that, yeah, they may have had their house for 30 years. But this is really not that day and time where people are really staying in a house for 30 years. So get that out of your mind. The loan, yeah, absolutely is going to be 30 years if that's what you pick. You have the option to go with 15 or 30. If you pick 30, fine. For lower payments, fine. But at 10 years in, you might sell that house and make money. Okay. Well, I only bought the house for 150, so now the comps in the area are saying that I can sell my house for 260. So now I can sell my house and make 80,000, and I can walk away from it. And the kids are grown. I can take that 80, get me a condo, like whatever your goal is. So you have to really be real with yourself about what your actual goal is. And don't get so caught up in, okay, I'm going to 30 years and this is how much I'm going to pay for the house. So that's really like one thing that I find, that's a conversation that I find myself having at least on a weekly basis. And to be honest, 95% of the time it works, because the average person is not looking to stay in a house for 30 years. So why do you think you're going to pay for it for 30 years unless you
Yeah.
plan on renting it out, So
Exactly.
that's
I
one.
mean, as you see now, I see a lot of people now, like in my neighborhood now. This has been one of the neighborhoods that it was kind of hard to get homes in, coming up. This is, I always like to say, this is like the third generation of Black folks inside this neighborhood, because back in the early 60s, 50s, things like that, you couldn't come in this, up in Emerson Village. You couldn't go past Poplar Grove, things like that. So right now, it's so easy right now, everybody up here to buy homes, to rent out homes. Every day I'm riding around and there's so many people that's fixing up homes around here. It shows you, like, right now, how the city is changing, because if you look at it from the market from the city from the 70s on up to 2000, now it was like maybe 1 million residents inside the city. Now we like little below 600,000, maybe about 600,000 right about now.
Yeah.
So it's been dropping.
That's right.
So
population.
now, it's so available right now. I would say, is this a buyer's market, seller's market right about now? Or, I mean, and what is the difference? Because a lot of people don't know. They hear that and go, yes, buyer's market now is a seller's market. What is that?
So that basically, the buyers and sellers market is pretty much determined by supply and demand. So it is a buyer's market when there are more houses on the market than there are buyers. Okay. So then it's a buyer's market because the sellers are pretty much doing what they can do to sell a home. It is the opposite with the seller's market. With the seller's market, that means inventory is low. So there are more buyers than there are sellers. So right now we are currently in a seller's market. So you are going to, honestly, the prices are up. The prices are up on everything. The prices are up on not only the house, but on the renovation of a home. If you're an investor, materials, labor, like prices are up on anything that has to do with real estate right now. But on the flip side, interest rates are down. So buyers are able to afford more of a house now than they would have before because the interest rates are so low. So it's kind of like six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Like, and some people I would never pay $220,000 to live right here, but at $220,000, you might only be paying $1,600 on your mortgage because of the interest rates, versus when the interest rates go back up and now your mortgage on a $220,000 house might be $1,200 a month. So it's kind of like, opportunity cost. You have to give up something to get something. So it's just like, which one are you going to do?
That's life. You got to give up something to get something.
I tell people that all the time, and it's like, you have to give up something to get something, period. Like, no matter what it is. So you can say that right now, I'm not going to, I wouldn't dare buy that house for $220,000 or whatever the case may be. But then you wait until the price on the actual house drop, and then the interest rate goes up, and then you're looking and it's like you're paying more for it at $150,000 than you would have at $220,000. So which one are you going to do? Yeah. So
Yep,
which one are you
interest is
gonna
a little
do?
lower.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I was that person. I never. We sold a house back in 2006, and look at it, 2006. This is 2021, up in the Gwen Oak area of on Groveland for $325,000. And I was amazed because I knew what that area would look like, because I went to the school, in the area, so I had family. I'm like 325, Jefferson, on Jefferson Street over East Baltimore. We
Mm-hmm.
had a home over there for like $185,000, and I'm like, come on, down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, and then you got two houses next to you right there that was vacant, and like so. I was amazed. I was amazed. Like the city, it's coming up where as though you have a lot of people. It's getting like how North Carolina is, and like New York, where as though it's like a melting pot. So
Yeah.
you have people, John Hopkins is growing, university is growing. They're bringing in more students and things like that. This is to be, I want to say, like an art and the medical city right about
Mm-hmm.
now. So you have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people coming in right about now that's looking to buy homes and things like that. So what was the other, some of the other myths and whatever, some other things you want to touch on, because I have a few just because I want to play the person of I want to buy a home today, things like that. So I want to hear some of the myths to make sure, some of the things that that you didn't heard that like, damn, I can scratch this off my list. I can't do that part right there, So, some more of the myths.
So I would say the next biggest one is the um amount of money that one thinks that they would think that they have to have in order to buy a house. You as I'm an agent, so I'm asking anybody,
Yeah,
you still renting? So when you buying a house? Oh, I have to save more money. Well, what does that look like? How much money do you have now? Oh, well, they don't. It's everybody. That's just always their answer. Well, I had to save more money. Okay, well, how much money do you have now, and how much you think you have to save? Well, I think I would like to have at least $20,000 saved up. And why do you think you need that much money saved up to buy a house? Who told you this? Like who told
yeah,
you that you needed to have $20,000 saved up to buy a house? So to me, that is, I'm not saying that you don't have to have any money. The more money you have to put down on your house definitely helps make your payments cheaper every month, etc. But I don't think that any one person should put off buying a house until they save $20,000 to buy a house, especially if they are not actively saving money to buy a house.
yeah.
Don't
This
use
day
that
and age
as an
now.
excuse. If you don't have a plan in place where you're actually saving to get, have a plan in place that's gonna get you to a point where you have $20,000 in the bank in a year or 2 years or whatever the case may be, miss me. Let's talk about what we need you to do so that you can get a house. And a lot of times, I mean, like I said, you should absolutely have money saved up. FHA financing, you need to have at least 3.5% to put down on your house. Conventional, you have to have at least 20% down to buy a house. 3.5 and 20 is a big difference.
Yeah.
FHA, most people qualify for FHA because of their credit scores.
Okay.
Conventional, excuse me, conventional financing typically requires you to have a stronger credit score, and of course more money to put down because they don't require mortgage insurance. And we'll get into all of this in another segment when we touch on financing, and we are focused primarily on that topic. But just to
Yeah.
give you a little background information on that. So if you just think about, you just taking any amount, $150,000 house, 3.5%. Like you put 3.5% down on that. I'm not good with numbers, so I can't quote off the top of my head what that's going to be. But it's not a lot of money. It's not
Yeah.
$20,000. It's not. You don't have to save $20,000 to buy that house. And it's just like you feel like you have all of these numbers in your head, and you never talk to a lender, so you don't even know how much of a house you can afford. So where did you get this 20,000 from? Why do you feel like you need to have $20,000? Let's just really focus on getting you to talk to a lender who can pretty much build a roadmap for you if you really want to buy a house. You know what I mean? So the first step is always, I would say, don't make any assumptions. Don't, if Joe Blow next door told you that's what happened when he bought a house, your situation is totally different from Joe Blow. You can call a lender and have a whole totally different approval amount, uh, interest rate and everything from Joe Blow. Even though y'all work at the same job making the same exact amount of money, his situation is going to be different for yours. So don't make assumptions. If you are truly interested in purchasing a house, and even if you feel like I don't want to buy right now, but maybe in 1 year or two, still talk to a lender. Still talk to a lender so that lender can look at your credit and say, okay, if you want to buy in a year, we recommend you have this amount of money. We recommend your credit score be this. We recommend whatever the case may be. You can have a roadmap and you know exactly what you're doing. Education is key. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Just don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're here for. If you call me and you're not ready to buy a house, I'm not going to push you off because I'm like, oh, they not ready. I'm like, no, we're gonna have a whole entire conversation. I'm gonna send you emails once a month. We're gonna touch base, all of that. So, like, don't be afraid to jump out there and just ask questions and educate yourself on the process. Because a lot of what you hear about buying a house is not true.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, I thought, until I, took that step, because basically it's going to be the biggest investment you're really making in your life, for the average person that you in your life. So you want to be cautious. You don't want to be sitting in a loan for 30 years that you can't afford. Average, I would say maybe out of 10 people, maybe you're going to get maybe 3-4 people that may time at home for 30 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe pay on the generation to generation or whatever. So, and that's a high number. So you want to think about, do you want to sit here and be struggling all your life to pay, let's say $2,500 loan that you got stuck in for, a crappy house that's giving you problems, or something that's not worth that, or, just anything that you got a bad loan or something like that. You could have went to another lender that could have helped you out. Miss Lemon could have helped you out right there. You could have went somewhere. So it's a lot of things that you need, you have to do, take these steps, before you start buying home. Because I'm pretty sure that you can go to, a lot of people that's going to help you out. It's going to be like, they just want to get your money. But we're not going, we're here to educate you. Ms. Linda's here to help you. She's going to, if she got, check up on you once a month, things like that, just make sure that you're still going, if you're interested, just make sure that you're good. You're still on the right track, basically, somebody that you're going to need, you got a lot of friends that's not going to crack that whip one. You're going to need someone that's going to crack that whip. Hey, stop spending.
That would be me.
Stop spending that money like that. So put them shoes back. You can't be sitting up there.
That would absolutely be me.
Exactly. So this is what we're here for. So if a person want to get in contact with you, if they want to start now on getting ideas on what to do, what they need to do, or starting, trying to clean that credit up, things like that, how can everybody reach you and things like that?
So I can be reached. My cell number is 410-419-6347, and I'll send you a card. I have like an e-card that you can add to the advertisement to put on there for anyone who needs to go back and review and get my contact information. But my cell phone number, I'm available 24/7. 410-419-6347. My email address is very easy, dlsaleshomesmd@gmail.com. And that is also my website, dlsaleshomesmd.com. So you can feel free to reach out to me at any time, even if it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever the case may be. Send me a DM. I'll definitely follow up with you. I did have a few more things that I wanted to touch on in terms of the myth.
We're not done. We just basically getting started. So
I know. I have to go at 9 though. I have another meeting.
That'll work. We're gonna stick around because this right here, educational. We feel as though at this day and time, we don't want to see people, our people, any people right now, get stuck inside of something that they can't afford and things like that. So we have a few more things that we want to touch into to help y'all out. So just stick around for a little bit, and we got you. We're gonna take this quick break for a second, and we're gonna come right back to you. We got the song by my man 29 Streets coming out of Baltimore. This is a nice, powerful song. Y'all stick around, check this out, and we're gonna come right back to you in 2 minutes.
He said Black Lives Matter. Never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just know Black Lives Matter. talking just so much. And we're not about saying that we just only want the real. Only just wanting that, watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but a nephew can't just tickle. How the police act like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. Now they asking us to stop. George Floyd, hard to stop. Shit about Freddie Gray, they racing to the clock. I can't believe they killed Eric in the middle of the streets. NYC, now it's Minnesota. The shit they get for free, they getting me, they getting you. Man, they getting us for cheap. We done lost blood to these jails, and we got them 6 feet deep. Remember Philando Castile? Man, it's getting deep. Just remember that he's still on the ground. Yeah, they still whipping our ass like this shit real. That's why I'm running like Malcolm, because Martin, he wanted peace. And the visions that I'm having, man, this shit ain't come for cheap. And every day I'm waking up, I'm trying to be a great, and I can see these other people having changes in their thoughts. So we point out direction of changes in our hearts. But we watching bad boys like shade on them streets. We going against each other, man, that shit be looking weak. Chicago killing California, Philadelphia, get Baltimore, the shit is looking unforgivable. Chances, unforgivable bitches, unforgivable answers. Never know we gon' fit damage and let you refuse to stay. I swear, why they talking about Sandra Lincoln want the real? Only just one ass watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but I can't just tell you. Police like that. I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointing to the cop. Explore the stop. Get about Freddie Gray, they racing clock. Michael Brown would have been here. She went straight to that store, and then they picking. You know that we becoming more trade. My mom, man, you a whole family. Hope you get some more.
Welcome back. We back. That was my man 29 Streets coming out of Baltimore's call. Unfortunate, right? Like we were saying, it's a lot of men, a lot of people be going, you know, they be thinking about buying a home to be real difficult and that you're not going to be able to purchase a home, but that is not the case. I promise you, you can go ahead and purchase a home. It'll be, and it's not as scary. The most scariest part about buying to figure out how something's going to fit through the door or something like that. One of the hardest part, the most scariest part is like, oh, now. So, like I said, you want things you want to talk about. Let's go. Say it again.
So it's just a few more things. I get inquiries a lot about from homeowners who have people who are interested in purchasing a second home. They've previously owned a home. They no longer own a home. They might have, gone through a divorce or whatever the case may be, but they don't currently own a home, but have owned a home in the past. And they always inquire about, the first time home buyer programs and how, like, what happens, how do they get assistance, it being as though it's their second home. So basically, as long as you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years, you are considered a first-time home buyer again. So for anyone who's looking to purchase another home, haven't owned a home within the last 3 years, you are considered a first-time home buyer again. So you can still go through the program. You can still get the grant money, the down payment assistance, and everything as if you've never owned a home before. There are also programs that will assist you still, even if you have owned a home within the last 3 years, as long as you don't currently own a home. So again, Maryland Mortgage Program, they have some really good programs. So, it's really important that you get with the lender who's familiar with the programs and all of the requirements to go through and qualify for the Maryland Mortgage Program. But they do offer down payment and closing cost assistance for home buyers who have previously owned a home before. So that is another big miss, because you have a lot of people who early on in life, whatever, they got married, they did whatever. Like I said, they just not there anymore. They haven't been there in a while. They've been renting. They started life all over again. And now they want to purchase their second or third home. But they don't feel like, they don't want to have to be responsible for putting down the $20,000. Let's just say, I keep using that number. When they know that their friend next door went through one of the home ownership counseling programs and was only able to bring $400 to the closing table. So they want to qualify for the same thing. So it absolutely is possible. It absolutely is a way around that. But I mean, if you outside of those things, you aren't considered a first-time home buyer. But again, there is still some hope out there and some help for you if you're looking to buy a home. And we kind of touched on it already, but the whole I make good money and my credit is good, so I should be able to just start looking for a house. Do not ever, and I mean ever, start looking for a house without talking to a lender, not even a real estate agent, a lender. That is the first person you absolutely should talk to
That's the
when you
bag man.
decide you want to buy a house. Say that one more time.
Exactly. I said that's the
Yes.
bag man. That's the person that's going to give you the money. That's who you need to talk to. You can't go out here, basically what they call it back in the old school. The old people go ass betting. You got to have the money first before you go in and purchase their home.
Do not go window shopping, because what happens with that is you go window shopping and you find all of these houses that's to whatever price range. It's just the house that you like. It has everything in the house that you ever dreamed of. This is what your mind and your heart is set on. So you call a real estate agent. The agent is going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then she's going to say, she's going to say, okay, well, let me connect you with a lender. Let's see what we can do for you. When you talk to that lender may say, the houses you were looking at were maybe in the 280 price range. That lender might say, well, we can only approve you for 180, but you're not going to get everything in a house that costs 180 that would be in a 280 house. So now you have your agent day after day, week after week, month after month, sometimes year after year, trying to find this house, because that's what your mind and your heart was set on when you were window shopping, and you won't settle for anything less. So it kind of it's kind of like it doesn't work out for anybody. It doesn't work out for you. It doesn't work out for your agent. It complicates everything.
Exactly. It's like that having that relationship. I want a tall, dark, or a short Coke bottle, and it doesn't never work like that. You can't go with these exceptions. Like you say, you got to go into something catch your eye. Because not to get off talk or anything like that, but I know one thing that we used to do when we fixed up our homes was we always catered to the women. We will make our closets a lot bigger. We make the kitchen. We'll go all out and spend a lot of money inside the kitchen on appliances, countertops, things like that. The bathroom, and we'll go all out. So it's things that that we used to do that we cater to, that we know that a realtor today, this person is looking for a nice big bedroom, bathroom, something like, this is nice, this might like this. So you never know what you might find when you out there. So, you just got to go out there and look, like you say. Not go out there and look at, like, you just want to have a in your head that I'm thinking. That's what I had. I had a price range that I want. Okay. I know after you go see a lender, I say, okay, I can do this. I'm not gonna go ahead and look at no $300,000 homes, and I got a price range of, let's say, $150,000 or something like that. I'm gonna look somewhere around maybe 130. You never know about closing costs and things like. You never know what So you gotta, like you say, you gotta come to someone that's gonna call, that's available hours a day. That's gonna check up on you. When you're good, like Ms. Lemon right here. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for an agent actually not going to try to suck you out your money. They only looking for a commission. Yeah, they want a commission. They want to work, but they want to make sure that you're comfortable. They don't want you, a couple of months later that after you bad reviews person, you want okay, I felt good. I want this person to help my mom, my sister, my aunt, and things like that, because they felt like they took care of me. Like I was one of their own, and that's what you want to get right here. That's so that's what we want for you.
Absolutely. So just to recap, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
No, I said, yeah, can you hear me? It was going out. It was going out a little bit. It's fading a little bit. Is that right? You feels like that you're going to take, you'll take care of those, the people that that come to you to actually that's willing to buy a home, and that's what that we looking for. That's a part of the customer service that that offer. So
Right.
things that we touched on, you want to go back on a few things that you touched on.
Yeah, so I just wanted to do a quick recap because I know there were some things
Yeah, it was a
that
little
you
slow.
mentioned you wanted to cover as well. So like I said, the myths that I have is no, you do not need to have $20,000 or some large sum of money saved up before you can start the process of purchasing your home. You should absolutely talk to a lender, find out what you can afford, and based on what you can afford, you can then determine what your down payment and closing costs is going to be on average for a house in that price range, and go from there. With the right lender, again, I mean, because you do have some lenders that, I mean, the lenders are rocking and rolling just like the agents, and they don't have time a lot of times to sit and just talk through things. But there are some lenders who pride themselves on building a relationship, whether you're ready to buy this year, next year, or the year after that. So definitely reach out to a lender and get a roadmap, get a financial plan in place so that you can accomplish your goals of purchasing a home. Um, you do not have to pay your mortgage for 30 years unless that is your goal. So always sit down and make sure that you take the opportunity to write your goal down, understand it, and understand what your goal is. Plan out your next 10, 15, 20, 30 years as it relates to buying a home so that you can determine what situation would work for you. If your goal is to buy a house and sell it in 10 years, 5 years, or whatever the case may be, you need to know that so that you can disclose that information to both your lender and your agent, and we can better assist you with making sure that you make the purchase that's going to help you reach that goal. I make good money and my credit is good, so I can start looking for a house. Absolutely not. You need to talk to a lender first. Talk to a lender. The lender's the only person who can tell you how much of a house you can afford. You can't tell yourself that, and I can't tell you that as your agent. You have to talk to a lender. If you've owned a home before, that doesn't you are still considered a first time home buyer as long as you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years. So you have to have that house has to be gone. You have to be renting or whatever the case may be for 3 years before you're considered a first time home buyer. But you absolutely are considered a first time home buyer again. Um, I can't buy a house until I pay off my student loans. Again, absolutely, that is not good, accurate information. Your student loans are based off of the student loans are your lender looks at your monthly student loan payments. So as long as your monthly student loan payment doesn't exceed what your income is, you should definitely be able to still purchase a home that I mean, I can't tell you what you'll be able to afford, but you'll absolutely still be able to purchase a home, although you have outstanding student loan debt. So I just wanted to do a quick recap. I'm going to turn it over to Alfie D.
So one thing like that, I'm just going to, basically like my experiences. I can't tell about nobody else's, but I just know one thing, about purchasing the home. One thing, not even really purchase the home, but just purchasing something big in life. My uncle always told me, my very first car that I brought, make sure that you have money saved to be able to take care of that car, because you can go ahead and go buy yourself a nice big old car, but you can't afford, the maintenance and things like that. I ran into some things when I first moved into my home. I'm thinking, okay, I moved into here, everything good. They fix everything. Like they say, shit happens. You always gotta keep in mind, yeah, you brought this home. Don't spend your last. Make sure that you have some money saved up when you purchase your home, because you never know why by having a pus. You never know, because the heat might not been running. You might brought your home in the summertime and you never ran the heat during the winter. So you don't know if that's going to go up. So now, if you don't have, some, warranties and all these kind of things built in, and, you didn't do your homework to find, some kind of home warranty, now you got to go get a heating system, or you got to go get it checked out. So that's other money. So you don't want to go through the winter time without heat. And it's other little things. Some things, some pipes might leak, things like that. I think I done been in my home for 6 years, and I think I didn't have almost every problem that a person can have. And not alone, Mother Nature helped a little bit too with all these storms that we had the past couple of years. But I done found out the hard way. A home will break you. It's stressful. Some people say, I'd rather rent. I heard one gentleman say, if you're trying to make it in life, you're trying to make, you want to make money and things like that, why buy a home? You want to rent a home. I kind of understood his concept of saying, spending that kind of money for 30 years, like you said, 30 years and things like that. You could buy a house, you could rent a home and things like that. You don't have to worry about getting it fixed up. Someone else is going to fix it. and other things, but it's something that's part about home ownership. The first thing I ever seen that was like, I was a kid and I was watching, I think Archie Bunker, and they paid off the house and they had a deed burning party. Yeah, I'm old school. Deed burning, like, what is a deed burning party? When you don't have no more mortgage, you own a home clear and free. But in Baltimore City, you don't really clearly own your home because you still got to pay property tax, and that will kill you. So it's there's a lot of things that a person might think like you about buying a home that like that's just your home. This is out. No, you might have taxes. You might don't pay your taxes. You might don't put a bill. They can come take your home for things like that. So there's a lot of things you have to be mindful of, and we're going to touch on a lot of these things as we go on. I just want to get just a few little things on kind of experiences, things that I went through, and some things we're going to we're going to touch on. We're going to help you out. Things, and then also we're going to entertain you in the midst of doing these things. So we're going to be here with you on Wednesdays at 8:00. And sometimes the conversation might go on for a while. So we might go on for 2 hours, 1 hour. You never know how it might go, but we going to go ahead, give you the ins and out. We going, we might have to bring a person on that's just thinking about buying a home. So if you're interested in buying a home, you're thinking about, you got some questions, you can shoot me a DM. You can shoot Ms. Lemon a DM. You can give her a call thing. So whatever it is, you got questions, anything you want to learn, you want us to touch on, feel to reach out to us. Street Talk Podcast. You can go ahead and just comments. You can go ahead and just interact if you like. So give everybody your contact information again. How can you be reached? Your website, everything, anything you got on, anything if they were looking to buy a home, what do they can just come to you right now and say, hey, I want to buy a home right now. Can you show me a lender? Just help us out.
So anybody who is interested in purchasing, even if it's not now, I am always open to doing buyer consultations. I schedule them every week. So definitely reach out to me so that we can sit down. You can have a personalized one-on-one session with me. We can discuss your goals as it pertains to purchasing your home. And we can definitely put a plan in place if I need to connect you with a lender. I have some great lenders. If you already have one, definitely take the opportunity to talk to them so that you can get get a bigger picture of what buying a home looks like from the financial aspect of it. I can be reached. You can find me. You can follow me on Facebook. My name is Dawn Lemon on Facebook. On Instagram, it's DL Sells Homes MD. My telephone number is 410-419-6347. And my email address is dlsellshomesmd@gmail.com. So next week, I intend on talking about the lending process, what is typically required when you talk to a lender, what they will need when they first speak with you in order to provide you with the information necessary so that you can begin the financing part and the pre-approval process for your loan. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to DM me, shoot me a text, send me an email, however you prefer to communicate. I am totally fine with that. Thank you so much, LPD, for the opportunity. I hate to rush and be out of here. I have like 3 more minutes to give you and answer any questions that anybody might have before I have to log off.
No problem. So at the end of this, you have all your contact information up on here. So anytime anybody they don't want to reach Miss Lemon, we will have a contact information. So check it out. You can check this podcast out. It's going to be on all streaming sources from Apple, from iTunes on down to. You can tell Alexa, play Alfie. No, don't play me. but you know what I'm saying. But let me stop playing. But we're gonna have all the information up for you. So whatever you need, well, like I said, if you want any questions that you want to talk to us about, that you want to touch on, just shoot us an email, shoot me a DM, shoot Ms. Limited DM. We got you. This is Street Talk Podcast. We're going to come to you next week, 8:00, same time, same podcast. We up out of here, Street Talk Podcast. Coming up, we got my man Streets 29. Unfortunate. Check him out. Check him out on YouTube. Go ahead, subscribe to this podcast. Go subscribe to his podcast, and we up out here. Peace. Ms. Lemon, I appreciate everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Next week, I'm not going to call you young. Well, you look young, but I'm not going to call you young.
Whatever you call me, just don't call me dumb.
we never do that. You're one of our black queens that's here. We want to make sure we need to take care of our up and coming entrepreneurs, black women right now. They're leading the nation on starting up businesses, things like that. So we want to make sure that we take care of our women. I thank you. I appreciate you coming through.
Thank you.
Anytime, anything else you got to come through, you want to talk about, we here, but we want to meet up next Wednesday, same place, same time, Street Talk Podcast. Like I said, I appreciate everything. We up out of here. Holla at you.
Right.
See you next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Aubrey family, hope you get answers and then some more. Sorry, Amy Capriori, I ain't trying to be no judge. Don't say he was only 16 and it really gave him life. I want him home, I want him free, and I want that shit tonight. This shit crazy, they get off and they give my people life. Now I'm strapped in with a vision, yeah, it's fuck all politicians. They condoning all these murders, fuck Donald Trump, he the villain. On the trailer, I just promise, I never forget your struggle. They done came into your apartment after they shot you for nothing. Minnesota, I understand, I will not tell you not to rot too many of my people that felt pain. I feel it deep inside. We go much more than 40 acres and that's me. They should have stopped the shit with Emmett Till, but this is what they do. Why they talking just so much? And we don't hit up our Sandra. We just only want the real. Only just one that watching all this go down. With Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but a nephew can just tickle. The police act like that. I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, hunting stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray racing to the clock. And now Rashard Brooks, George Floyd, the bigger picture.
We out of here. Peace. Man Streets came down with a banger. Y'all need to go check him out. 29 Streets, coming straight out of Baltimore. He got a lot more hits. He's coming through. Holla at him. I'm trying to tell y'all it's something different. Get at your boy, 29 Streets. Street Talk Podcast. We out of here. We're going to bring you more and more and more and more each and every week. Each and every week we coming to you. Peace. We out of here.